What's going on, Luka Nation? We're going for a three-peat, something LeBron could never do with the Heatles. So we'll try to fill in here and take his place. But no, I'm just messing. This is going to be such a fun episode. You guys know I want to kick it off with a little bit of humor, maybe self-deprecating by the end of this recording. But we got Bro Namath on, and you guys know Bro Namath is a hobby gem, and I don't say that lightly because he's one of the most helpful people that there are in the hobby. You send him a DM, he's going to respond. He's going to respond selflessly. He's going to try to help you and guide you. He did that for me when I first came into the hobby, and we were just talking about that a year ago. And I have no doubt that the thousands of listeners we have out there, if a few of you guys have DM'd him and interacted with him, you would agree with what I said. So without further ado, I have 4 amazing topics prepared for the show. But as you guys know, we'll be talking about a variety of things. And without further ado, I wanted to welcome Bro Namath back on the show for the 3rd time. Welcome back, brother. It's good to have you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you. It's something that LeBron does often. It's come to the finals, right? So here we are.
Bro Namath. It's 3 bros. Bro Namath. Bro your boat. I love it.
Comics.
Bro Namath.
I want to talk about comics. I want to talk about the current grading environment. I want to talk about what you've been buying, what you've been selling, how you look at the current market environment. And I want to also talk about crypto as well. And I saved LeBron and Curry for last to go over the game.
That's
because
5 topics. That's 5. Can I start with a 6? Can I do a little one?
Please.
And then I'll just be very quiet and everybody can let you guys make fun of LeBron for a little while. P.S. LeBron didn't three-peat, but let's also acknowledge that his 2 teammates there are going to be in the Hall of Fame already while he's still playing at a real high level. So, I'm not a LeBron lover, but let's acknowledge how amazing that is, right? I mean,
that's the first step in AA. Good job.
No, I've to say he's not good. I mean, he's not Michael Porter Jr. I could say he's terrible, but I can't say LeBron's not good. I can just say he's not the best of all time. It is what it is. But here's my question for you. Andrew has in recent episodes started talking about taking a break, sitting on the sidelines, finding something that you enjoy, finding something, and even more recently, he started to talk about Marvel cards and thinking about it not as a short-term flip type of investment, but as a collector with a long-term investment goal on those, a long-term strategy for, them being culturally relevant year over year over year, and then, having slow growth with those over time, and sitting on the sidelines. I think it's an important thing to talk about, and you got great topics, and we'll have a full hour on this one. But why I think it was great to have Bro Namath in, some people we haven't had in one time, but here he is for a 3rd time. That's a topic I think he can really weigh in on, because the way the market's going, the way the market has kind of gone a little sideways, maybe down for the last few months, combined with the fact that people are kind of spreading their money out into other weird kind of things, NFTs, the Top Shot money, you'll get into crypto and the whole deal. I know that Bro Namath has also, I don't want to say sidelines, let's say he has taken a different path. And I think it would be cool for our audience for Luka Nation to hear that, because it doesn't mean you're gone from cards for good, right? But here is a guy who legit, the first time on, we were back and forth. If you haven't listened to his prior episodes, please listen to him, about grading, about which was the way to go, BGS, PSA, 5 days, being the first one to grade cards, jumping on him. This guy was cutting edge of grading. And because of the way the hobby has changed, because of what's going on with grading, he's kind of forged his own path. And we want to make sure that Luka Nation knows you can do that too. You can come back. The path can lead you back to cards, as things change. But maybe it takes you in a new direction. So, with that as the lead-in, can you talk to the folks about, the last couple of months for you in the hobby and the expanded hobby universe, if you can?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and thanks for bringing it up, because I think so many people are singularly focused on cards only. The hobby's so much more than just cards, and it's more. I think more than anything in this past 6 months to 8 months, we've realized that it's not just sports cards, right? Now you've got TCG has made a huge impact. You had guys that were into sports cards heavily diehard that got into Pokemon out of nowhere, right? Because everything was going up. And then you all of a sudden you had this shift into other TCG where Magic the Gathering was going off, and now Dragon Ball is just absolutely astronomical. So people are starting, and Marvel cards had a real big moment, right? And now you've got NASCAR cards are doing really well at the moment, and UFC is doing really well. So it's not just sports cards of your traditional sports. Everything else is now bleeding out as well because people, they like that. They like, Pokemon, they like Dragon Ball, like Magic the Gathering. Maybe they played it when they were younger, and they're circling back to it. And now I think as an investor, which I find myself being, right? I love the hobby and all that comes with it. I love all the stuff when I was a kid. I love it now. I love the conversation. I love the environment of it. But I'm not going to fool anybody. I love also making money off of it. So for me, when I see people say, oh, well, it's a hobby and you're an investor and I hate investors, listen, no one's buying a $10,000 card just to hold it in their hands and not look to maybe make 15 grand in a year. Everyone has an end game in this in the sports card industry. And I think what you're seeing now is that investors are outweighing collectors. And that's why we're having this little bit of a drift right now. And you're starting to see other people span out because they just kind of get boxed out of the whole card world. And people are getting hurt because they're buying Trae Young Silver PSA 10s for $3,500 leading the NBA season, and now they're down to like $1,500. So I think people are putting money in other areas, and I think that comics, and I mentioned it in I think our first podcast that we got together just briefly, that they're going up and they're steady, heavily, nice growth, not just out of nowhere it goes 10x like the sports card would. So they're really good growth. And the big thing is that the collectors in comic books, as you know, it's just huge, right? Like there's huge collecting world in comic books where as sports cards, I think everyone's in it for a buck. And I think that's showing a little bit right now, right? Your Target and Walmart closing down because people are fighting to get retail to then sell it. No one's ripping it anymore, which is unfortunate because I love the rip. Like that's so much fun. But if I can't pay close to retail for something, I'm not going to rip it. And I'm not going to spend this insane amount of money to get something graded that's not worth it to get graded. So it has sidelined me a little bit, and I have gotten really heavy into comics, and I've gotten heavy into other things as well. A little bit of VHSs, which we can touch on, which I think is it's fun. It's hard to find them sealed, and just watching the market in the past little bit, it's the demand is outweighing the supply by a heavy bit right now because people haven't realized it, right? Like the biggest thing in the hobby is having someone realize what they weren't realizing had value to it. So Dragon Ball cards, they weren't realized for the longest, and now look at them. Pokemon cards weren't realized for the longest. Magic the Gathering, like all these things weren't realized, and all of a sudden, oh crap! Like why aren't people buying it? Like the population on these are really small, real slim. I think population reports should really play a bigger role than what people are just going out buying, just mass-produced base cards just to have them.
When did you get into the hobby? Like, what's your story in the hobby? Have you been in for 5 years, 10 years?
So I got in the hobby again. Obviously, everyone says, "Oh, I collected cards when I was a kid," which I did. Right. And it's so cliche. Everyone hates. I just hate hearing that. Oh yeah, everyone did it, but you did. Yes, here it is. But I got into it about 2.5 years ago, and it was with Dragon Ball cards. My buddy, because I was always collecting stuff, like obviously the sneakers, but I was buying action figures, and I was getting those graded, Dragon Ball Z action figures graded. And then I was like, man, the cards are really cool. So I got into the cards, like, I'm just going to master Dragon Ball cards. So I was buying all of those and collecting those. And then it went into Pokemon, and then my buddy one day at the gym was like, man, you're buying all these Dragon Ball cards. How come you haven't touched sports cards yet? I was like, yeah, it's just such a gamble. I'm not really a risk taker by nature. Like I don't gamble. I've never gambled on sports games. Like I just not who I am. I don't like going to casino. I don't do any of that. So I sat there. I was like, maybe. So my first card I bought that was of money was a Luka Doncic Prism Silver PSA 10. I paid $500 for it, and then I paid $250 for a Trae Young Silver at the time. And that was my first big purchases. And I was ripping wax back then, like Zion, all that. When Zion came in, that's when I was ripping sports cards. So, I was able to amass a good amount of stuff because of the ripping and holding on to it and grading it because I was already grading with PSA, so I already understood how that worked. And that was really my first kickoff into the hobby was Dragon Ball and into sports cards. And I completely negated Dragon Ball and Pokemon to go all the way into sports cards at that point.
That I know we know that quote by Darwin. That's like, it's not the strongest, it's not the fastest that survive, it's the most adaptable. And something that I've seen in the hobby, I mean, a lot of people came in last year, and it was pretty. I don't want to say easy, but it was relatively easy to make money in the hobby last year. You could buy a card, send it to PSA, and at 5 to 6x or multiple, even if you got like a PSA 9. And then I found when people that were using that strategy at work last year, it didn't work recently, they would go and shit on the hobby. Where I find from you that you do really well is you're so adaptable, right? It's not the strongest, it's not the fastest that survive, it's the most adaptable. And I've always found that, and I'm curious if we could dig into that for a second. What is it about you that makes you so adaptable? Because I think that's a skill set that's not realized as much as it should be. And I think for long-term success in any industry, but specifically the hobby, it's really important. So what do you think it is about you that makes you so adaptable, that makes you so agile and being able to change?
I think it's a few things. Understanding the market. I mean, I think if you're going to get into this, you have to read the market, understand market trends, just like any other day trader or anyone in the stock market would be doing, and understanding where things are heading in a direction and seeing the signs before they come to light. And being able to understand that has helped me kind of navigate and wiggle around, and obviously having a love for other things like comics and other things like that I can start to get my hands onto and become that OCD collecting with and amassing that. Well, I kind of sit on the sidelines, and that's what we had talked about earlier. Is like, this is my sideline sitting of sports cards right now. I'm still buying some, just very, very, very selective with what I'm buying.
He doesn't skip leg day. Everybody who
not.
watches his page knows he doesn't skip leg day. And
Love
I'm
leg
being
day.
half jokey but half serious, because the people who skip leg day, they're the ones that are looking for the shortcut, right? They're the ones that are looking for the easy way to do this stuff. And what this guy's telling you is there is no easy way, right? You got to put in the work. You got to do your due diligence. You got to research. You have to try to figure out where it is. And take that a step further. If you do that research, what he's telling you is that it's not a gamble, right? It's the smart money, right? It's I know this is going to work. And let's take that one additional step, and let's say it's not a coincidence that now it's a gamble. You can't get retail at retail price. It's hard to get wax. You can't grade stuff cheap, right? So the smart money is not there, right? It now ripping and trying to grade, it is a gamble. So here he is, not doing it anymore, right? So that's not rocket science there. It makes sense. And if you found another place, whether it be comics, sealed VHS, Dragon Ball Z, wherever it may be, where you can still buy low, sell high, as the old adage goes, he's not gambling. And I think it's amazing to hear that too, because I know how I'm wired. I know how you're wired, Andrew. It is gambling. I'm a gambler. Like, I love gambling. And you're no gambling. And so that's great, because I've always said to Andrew, like, everyone in this is a gambler. There's some level of gambling to it. So It's cool to hear you're like the anti-gambler, right? You're like finding a way to make it so that it's not a gamble.
I don't hold any sports cards of that player in their season as they're playing.
Wow. Say that one again. For real. So, like,
I honestly sell every single. So baseball, I was buying in November, December, January, and I own 0 baseball cards right now.
So not a single Acuna.
Not a single Acuna, not a single Jason Dominguez, not a single Tatis, not a single Soto, nothing. All gone.
I remember watching you were selling Randy Rosarina, and I was curious. I was like, why is he selling before season? So that's 100% accurate.
I sell everything before season.
Come on, knowing where you're from, though, have you started stocking up on Team Tebow cards?
The only exception to that rule are the goated people, right?
Yeah.
So I've been buying Brady autos and just stashing those with. I don't care. Like, that to me is not a gamble. Like, that's just because they're undervalued. That is truly undervalued item. So I just stash those away. And Connor McDavid on-card auto stuff, I think, is undervalued. So I stash stuff away. But besides that, man, everything's gone before season starts. I load up in the off season when everyone else is frantically buying during season of a different sport. They forget about this player, because Jason Dominguez had a really good dip of buying period. So did Acuna. Acuna was Acuna was so cheap in comparison, and I know we talked about that last time. I was like, yeah, buy Acuna. Like, he's going to do well. Like, he's working out 24/7. He lost like 20 pounds. Like, the kid's going to be a stud. And his stuff was so cheap. I don't own any of it. I still think he's the best out of those three. I know, call me crazy. I still think he's the best out of those three. I still think he has room to go, but I'm not the one to bet on the horse. I'll sell you the horse.
Acuna was the only one I really held on to volume of going into this year. I sold almost all my Tatis. I never really had too much in the way of Soto because, he was always the most expensive one anyway. But Acuna was the one, I held on to. But I think I may start levering out of some Acuna now just because he's doing well. He's got the headlines. He's hitting the ball. He's demonstrative. And you're right. I mean, there's risk. If you stay in, he gets hurt or something like that, there's risk.
Cage, I don't know if you remember, you gave Acuna as a play in, I think it was December or November when guys, Tatis was the cheapest out of all three of those guys by a mile. Just if you look, 12 months ago?
Yeah, definitely.
And then Tatis and Soto kind of became the premiums, and Acuna was a discount.
Yep. He just dropped. And that's the same concept as that. It's not gambling, right? If you're loading up on a player that is undervalued, knowing that once the realization of season comes, that why is he so cheap? That is not a gamble. The same way that Burrow 5 months ago, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months ago was cheap, he's not cheap anymore, right? So if you bought him 4 months ago, 5 months ago, especially right after his injury, you would be sitting already on at least a 2 or 3x on whatever you bought.
Right, even without him playing.
Without him playing. And then him coming back already saying, okay, he's going to play on opening day.
Week 1, yep.
Week 1. And here you go. You already have another spike in his pricing. So,
but take that to the next thing. If you have Burrow, because you were probably buying him, are you selling him now? You're selling him before, like you sold him in preseason?
I'm selling him in about a month and a half. Is my plan. Is once you start to see him in some action and throwing the ball, I'll be selling him.
Herbert.
It's amazing.
Have you seen the prices Herbert's selling at?
Too expensive. I'm sorry, but if you truly believe that he's going to be the next Tom Brady that had a child with Joe Montana, that had a child with John Elway, then so be it. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Burrow was the buy of that class. For so long, he was the buy of that class. Hurts was the buy of that class 4 months ago. He really was. Even his prices have come up. So, I mean, there's pockets where you can make money. You're not betting. You don't have to hold on to the horse. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, why are you buying Hurts? So, that's ridiculous. He's going to suck. Yada, yada. Okay, well, he's QB1, and they had a couple good draft picks, and his prices already tripled since when I bought them. So, tell me.
I'd be shorting. If I could shorts, I'd be shorting Herbert now if that was allowed. Just because you're right. He's basically like Tom Brady priced already, and he hasn't won anything.
Nothing.
All right, go ahead. What's your question, pal?
Well, I have a few topics, and I hope we get to all of them because this is so exciting. I've got like cryptos, that you can short cryptos. I want to talk about pop reports. You guys want to go pop report or crypto?
I want to cut you off. I'm going to go comics.
Comics.
Boom. You told me yesterday 9.6 is a 9.5, is a BGS 9.5. A grade on a comic. 9.6 is a BGS 9.5. A 9.8 is a PSA 10.
Correct. A 9.8
for people out there,
10.
Give people a crash course on comics. Why you believe in them so much, what you love about comics, and why go comics versus a Marvel 1990 card, for example. Why comics?
So you're buying the card, but why not buy the real thing, right? Like it's like you're essentially buying a toy model car that you built from Walmart versus going and buying the 911 yourself. I mean, comics where it's originated at. It's a true rookie card. It's a true rookie card of that product. I mean, this character, this first appearance was in this book before it was on a card by 40 years in some cases. It was in a movie before it was even there. So buy the VHS that came out in 1988. So there's if we're looking for the rookie play, is that what you're trying to do? Why look for the rookie card when comics were not cards, right? And even going a step further, they made cards in like the 60s. I think there was a Marvel set.
1966 Donruss.
Which
comic
I think
set
is an extremely undervalued. If you're
it's
really
hideous though. It's so hideous. It's so ugly.
It's so of that decade, and it's so of comics,
Hold
right?
on a second. I'll be right back. You keep talking.
All right. So, but it's so of that era, and it's representative of them finally
Did
breaking that
Did
barrier.
Cage just leave to go yak because of how ugly the 1966 Marvel is?
He's going to go get a couple, and he's going to bring it back and show you. That's exactly what he's doing. I just think that for me, why not own the comic book, right? Like, and I have some comics here to show you too. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to show it off in that regard. I'm waiting for Cage to come back with this card. I hope it's the Spider-Man one because it's really cool. Show it off.
Cage, are the cards that ugly? You had to go, 2 fingers down and throw up?
No, I went to go get some. We're
Show
on
it off.
YouTube now. We're visual, right? So, I figured it would be cool for people to see. This is a Daredevil.
Nice. But that to me is so much cooler than the 90s set because it looks like an excerpt from a comic book.
And that's a Hulk verse thing. And if you notice on the bottom, basically it's like the set is split up into 26 Daredevil cards. This one's pretty creased up. It's pretty bad, but this is one of 51 Hulk cards.
Cage opened his pool yesterday, and he said that to Ian. Just like that. He said, let's go swimming, buddy.
So because we're doing this, and I love Bronamath, so that's what the 1966 Donruss set looks like. In the 70s, Topps made Marvel comics cards, stickers.
Yep.
There's a 75 and a 76 set. I like those because they're more my humor. Because they're like, it's crazy stuff on the cards, right? Like Submariner, don't pollute my waters, right? Or, here's Thor, support your local thunder god. Here's the Human Torch, like, tan, don't burn. Like, what the heck is going on
to me though, Cage, that is perfect representation of what Marvel was, of that time. I think it was Fantastic Four really was their first breakout comic. Obviously, Captain America was really big, fighting, Hitler, all of his original stuff. If you're not sure, guys, was fighting against Hitler. It was a lot of war propaganda. It's awesome if you look back into the Americana of it. And then he didn't resurge until, 15 years later in a comic book. So if you ever look at that stuff, it's really cool to read. It's real fascinating. He was basically America's soldier fighting every one of the Axis powers in the comic books back then.
Let me answer your Bronamath, right? So you asked, hey, why buy the 1990 Marvel card instead of the comic, right? It's 40 years later. The comic's the original stuff. It's the real rookie, right? So what about non-improvable condition at a price point that is reachable and attainable for people and portability? So think about it this way, right? If I want an Incredible Hulk, I can buy an Incredible Hulk PSA 10 Marvel 1990 for a couple $100. But if I want an Incredible Hulk rookie, I want an Incredible Hulk book 1, right? Gray Hulk. But I want a Gray Hulk, a 2 is going to cost me potentially 5 figures. A high grade is.
But that too, I feel so safe buying that too versus spending the $200 because I think that $200 could be worth nothing. That too is always going to be worth something because there's going to be a collector at all points in time, no matter when this market crashes or it sustains or keeps going up. There's going to be comic book collectors. So my thing about the Marvel cards, are we really yarning? We really want something so bad to be Marvel in the sports card industry, so we have to buy the cards?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Is that the pleasure of I have the Marvel card in a PSA slab? Like, what's the allure to that?
I'll tell you, card.
Can I go real quick?
Yeah.
Apples to apples is all it is for me.
Yes, 100%, 100%. No, but I mean, for me, I think it is. It's Sharks and Jets, right? So I go to card shows. I've never been to a comic show. There's a difference.
So you've never been to a Comic-Con?
No, come on, look at me.
You're a nerd.
No, it's sort of. I've seen the Comic-Con people walk past me and they go right past my office.
Comic-Cons are great, by the way.
It's one of those kind of things.
I'm picturing the entourage scene from Comic-Con.
It gets a little. So listen, those people obviously, but But Comic-Con is like a once a year, like anime type thing, right? So I've never been to, so it's like Plainview. It doesn't. There's a million card shows with liquidity cards, like people cards. Like I've never heard of like a local comic book show. I know the stores, so that's one. Two, what you're talking about, you're right. Trust me, I get it. Like that Hulk, that too, is a huge piece, right? There's always gonna be somebody who wants that. But the liquidity of it is what is a little bit different, I think. So card people, it's easier for them to jump into a 1990 Marvel, the first mainstream Marvel set of cards, and say, I'm going to get a PSA 10, because they know what a PSA 10 is. They know what a card, they know what the slab looks like. It's sort of like, I'm not going to besmirch Buster here, right? But Buster from Hoops Nation, right? He has a Abraham Lincoln autograph. Okay, he wanted to branch out into political figures, American history autographs. And what was the first thing he did? He went out and he bought a cut auto of Abraham Lincoln in a PSA 10 slab, right? It's a cut document. There are millions. There are a lot of Abraham Lincoln autographs because everybody who he appointed for a military post or a judgeship, you name it, has it. And there are a bunch of Abraham Lincoln autographs. Just put it into eBay. There's a ton of them out there, and they're all full signatures, full documents, not cut, right? And most of them aren't graded by PSA. Some of them are, mostly because PSA won't grade anything that's bigger than like 8.5 by 11, for autograph stuff like that anyway. But someone like him who's a card,
you fit in.
well, I am. I'm too big for them to grade. So, but somebody like him who's moving for cards to something else, he looked for Abraham Lincoln auto that's in a PSA 10 slab, right? So that's part of the thing, right? If people are expanding out and you want card people to get into Marvel, sure.
This is my thing, is that Americana is always going to be big, right? It's always going to be big, and that's that's a piece of history. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's an awesome piece to own. What's your goal with it? Is your goal to be having a long-standing piece of Americana that may continue to go up? What does those percentage of points look like? Are they even teaching history in school anymore? Like, I honestly, so where's the next crop of buyers going to be? And
right.
If you look at what Disney's done with the Marvel universe, you have to be so safe and secure, understanding that they're just never going to go anywhere. They're going to continue to go up. They're going to continue to pump money into everything. Spider-Man was just acquired from Sony over to Disney for, I think, like a 5-year lease type of deal. So they're going to pump Spidey up huge. They're going to put as much money in them as possible. They just acquired X-Men and Fantastic Four, and they're going to build something that I don't think we've ever seen. If you look at Disney Plus, I think they said with Disney Plus over the past year that it was the equivalent to some odd many major blockbuster movies at a movie theater. I think it was like around 10 or something. That's a lot just for streaming online. So what they're doing with that whole universe and having the show by show come out, Loki show's coming out next. I don't know, Loki's first appearance comic book is creeping up heavily. So these shows, and we talk about the sports card, right? So if we're looking for a Marvel sports card, because the same concept of sports cards is, well, listen, as those shows come out, those movies come out, this card has to go up, right? Well, I don't think that necessarily is going to have the same gain as the comic books. Now, yes, the comic book entry may be more. However, the reward is much better as well. So let me see here. All right, so this book, you can see it. There we go. Gage, you know that book, right?
All right, I was on mute. Fantastic Four, right?
Yes.
I can't see. It's a little glary. Yep.
Yeah. So that's going to be Fantastic Four issue number 48, first appearance of Galactus and Silver Surfer. It's a 6.5. Grade on slabs are going to be right there. You can see it. There we go. Right there, 6.5. It is a off-white pages. What that means is they're grading also the quality of the color print on the book, on the comic book, off-white to white. White pages being the best, basically just right off of print. I paid for this book 4 months ago, I think, 3-4 months ago. I paid $3,200 for it. and the
Right.
cheapest on eBay right now is $6,500.
So before you go crazy on it, right? So before you go nuts, because I do want people to understand what you're doing, and this is part of why card people, it's easier for them to just buy a Marvel card because they know where the PSA pop report is, they know the 9, the 10, the whole deal. So you just, without even realizing it, because you're knee deep in this and you know your stuff, we got a million questions that the audience is going to need. Number one, your grade there. Where do people find that? How does somebody find, if they wanted to buy that book and they wanted to see the pop reports, let's call it, I know it's probably called something else, but the pop report for that book, where would they go?
So these slabs that I have on these comic books are the premier slab. It's going to be CGC. You go to their website and there is a registry. There's a census, CGC census. You go on there, you type in the title of the comic book. You're going to type in exact match. And it's going to pull up that comic book. You click on it, of that series. It's a title. So you click in the title. And then once you click the title, all those books from, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down, you click on the number. It's going to pull up the pop report in very good detail. It's going to tell you exactly everything you need to know. Now, the thing
is that an account? You have to have a CGC account to do
I believe you do to be able to look at it, but it's a free account. You're not signing up for anything. You just have to have an account.
Right.
The thing
Is there in those pop reports, like subgrades like Beckett does? Does white, off-white, do they go that detailed in it? Do they say,
they
there's
do not,
27?
They do not go that detailed. What they do
so
is
before you jump, go ahead, please.
They'll have the total grade from scale is a 10, which is like impossible to get. It's in only modern comics. A 9.9, which is like a black label, but even harder. 9.8, and then all the way down. It doesn't tell you if it's off-white or white or cream pages.
So give me the hierarchy there, because I don't know the answer. I would assume white is great, then off-white, then cream, but I don't know.
So it's going to be white. If you can get a book that's just white pages, that means it's the best of the best as far as quality of the color. Then you can go off-white white. That means it's in a mix of both. Then you can be at full-on off-white. Then you could be at cream to off-white, full-on cream. And then I think it goes to like brittle pages. Like almost the book is going to fall apart if you
run it through the mud. So in addition to the number grade on the grade, the slab itself, it's going to say the quality of the interior pages.
Correct. Okay. Yes, and the presentation of the cover, obviously.
Okay, I like it. What about variants?
So variants have become a thing. It's funny you mentioned that. Variants have become a thing as of late with modern comics. This book here, who I think is probably the most undervalued character in all of Marvel Universe right now, is Miles Morales.
I got one I think is much more undervalued.
Look at that.
My boy Thanos right there. That's my undervalued guy. A little Secret Wars. I know you're a fan.
I am a fan of Secret Wars. So this here is 1 out of every 30 copies of the regular version would be this variant. Now, this is Spider-Man 1. That's his origin story. Miles Morales is going to be the next Spider-Man. He is going to be the face of the franchise. He is going to be everything that Disney and Marvel wants to push. He is so undervalued, it's not even funny.
Yeah, well, because Spider-Man, they're going to push that multiverse now, right? They're going to bring in the multiple characters in there, and the lead is going to be Miles Morales, which, that was the last animated, movie anyway, right? The Spider-Man movie, right? You like that one, the Miles Morales one, the Spider-Verse one. That was pretty cool.
Fantastic, yeah.
How about let's see, movies that are coming out? Have you seen an increase in the prices for Shang-Chi?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I was saying earlier, is that while you're after the cards of Marvel, the comics, dude, if you look at what's happening with them, with shows, trailers, movies, announcements, they all just keep going up. And if you're looking for that investment strategy plan, there's no more of a foolproof play than comics right now, because they are just going to blow out this universe. And just like Cage said, Shang-Chi, he's blowing up. What is the other one? Oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue.
The Eternals?
The Eternals are going crazy right now as well. And they had literally a half a second clip from an Instagram post. A half a second clip trailer, and all their stuff's going crazy already. So there's these buying times. There's a really good app. Let me look at it real quick.
Are we too late on Carnage? Are we too late on Carnage already? Has that exploded too much already?
I'm a big Carnage fan. So I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, if you read the same or heard the same, is that the characters from the Netflix shows who played Daredevil, who played Punisher, I think Tom Hardy also signed back on with Marvel Universe with Disney.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're not.
Yep.
So everything that happened in Netflix won't be canon. What canon means, it never really happened in its storyline, but they're going to use those characters. So there's no way, Cage, there's absolutely no way that Carnage and Venom do not show up against Spider-Man at some point. There's just no way. It's just too much of an epic moment in comic book history for that not to happen. So I wouldn't think that Carnage is done.
No, my favorite. Well, Carnage is. I mean, the movie's coming out. I just mean, are we too late to buy him now? Because there's been a heck of a run up on it.
Yeah, but you know what? We haven't really got a taste of him, right? Like, we got like a small sample size of what he looks like. And what I've heard is that his form is going to change throughout the movie, and if they leave it on like a cliffhanger notice, I think he still has room to go. But you can still buy some books now, and most likely flip come movie time. Yes, if that's what you're looking for, short. Yes, if you're looking for a short-term investment, you can buy now and probably make, I don't know, 30%, 40% by the movie. I would assume.
Andrew, do you want to take it to a different topic? Because I mean, I
like this topic.
Yeah,
I like this topic a lot.
My
I'm
favorite
curious.
thing with comic movies are people who play more than one superhero or more than one role. That's like my favorite thing. So like people don't realize like Ben Affleck was Daredevil and Batman.
Yep.
And
Ryan Reynolds
was Green Lantern, right? And Deadpool, obviously, right? And
Captain America.
Captain America was the Human Torch, right?
Yeah.
Good job, man. This guy knows his stuff. He knows, the multiple guys. So how about this little known one? How about the same guy who played Eddie Brock also played Bane? Did you know Tom Hardy was Bane in the Dark Knight movies?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the same guy.
Well,
He's Venom and Bane. That's crazy.
You know why they casted him for that, right? It was based off of a movie Bronson that he was in.
Yeah.
Because he was just so fantastic without really saying much in Bronson that they were like, you'll be perfect with a mask on your face.
Well, now, basically, the whole world, or at least America, is ready to play Bane after a year.
I walk around and talk in that voice for sure. So Cage would give an amazing piece of advice to me and to our hobby community, and he said, buy the best card in the best grade of the best player possible, right? Did I say that right, Cage?
100% right.
How do you apply that? It's a principle, it's a framework that gives you a box to play in when you go and you're shopping for, my next investment. Mm-hmm. How do you, or what principles maybe is better, do you have when investing in a comic?
Completely different. And I say that because Zion Williamson has how many different rookies? I mean, there's countless. And I'm not just talking Prism. I'm not just talking Optic. I'm talking everything. There's so many. There's only one, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1. There's only this copy. There's a variant of it, which is I think the Canadian price variant no one really wants. But you do have Amazing Fantasy 15.
Aha! You know where I was going.
Which
right?
is
this is what gets confusing, right?
Which is his first appearance. But his first solo book, to me, the reason why I invested in this is because it's his origin story, right? But also you have Fantastic Four all on the cover. And having Fantastic Four on the cover to me was crucial because with what Marvel's going to be doing here shortly and tying that all together, I think that book has still room to go because it's still going up. I mean, I paid $18,000 for that book like 3 months ago, and it's already in the mid-20s. So it's already gone up. And I think. By the way,
Andrew, that's a cool thing with comics, right? Because you have obviously number 1 you think is a rookie, right? So there is a Thor number 1, right? But Thor enthusiasts might, I'm pretty sure, was it Hulk 181? Right? You know this stuff, right? Whose first appearance was that? Was that Wolverine or?
No, that's Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Thor's was oh my God, Journey into something. I can't remember what it was, but
yes,
that was
right.
Thor's.
That's right. What's Thor's first appearance, buddy? So like exactly, it's Wolverine. Wolverine's first appearance was in Hulk number 181. So if you're like a Wolverine guy, his first appearance is not actually in Wolverine 1; it's in Hulk 181. So it's
what's the true rookie? What's the true rookie there?
So like this is the Punisher's rookie. This is his first.
Punisher, yep.
Venus. Venus 11.
Venus 11, by the way, according to the kid over here, is the first appearance of Thor.
Did I lose you guys?
1950.
First appearance of Thor.
So
Venus.
this is going to
Never-
be. That's going to be his
His
rookie
last name
his
is
first
Wilson.
appearance. And then the origin is going to be his first book. So there's a Punisher 1 that's going to go over his origin, just like there's Amazing Spider-Man 1 that goes over his origin and kicks off from there. But the first appearance is the technical true rookie. Then they have their own solo book, and they basically go over their origin again, which is always a good play, right? Because the first appearances are always so expensive. And if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, why not get his first book as well, or her first book as well? Because Spider-Gwen is awesome, by the way. Her books are just crazy through the roof. And I think she has a lot of room to go too. But getting their first solo books, I think is equally important. Like, this is Miles Morales' first appearance, and you can't even see his face in it, which is really cool, right? Like, you don't know that Spider-Man is going to end up being African American. Like, you had no idea until you read the book, which is so cool because the whole concept behind Miles Morales is that anybody can be Spider-Man, not just Peter Parker. And that opened up that entire multiverse that we're going to see in the upcoming movie too, in the live-action movie.
Bronamath, talk about the size of the. Don't get crazy, Andrew. The size of like the collecting community for comics, right? So,
Massive.
and why I say that is, I'm a card guy. I mean, I know comics. I know a little bit about comics, and I'm definitely by far not an expert in it. I have your knowledge at all. But, there are iconic cards that even people who are not card collectors know, right? So, like, people know what a Mickey Mantle rookie looks like. People know what a Michael Jordan rookie looks like. People now know what a LeBron rookie looks like, even though it's not exactly the most iconic looking card, right? So, I guess my question is, right, like, there are
I
iconic...
lost you guys for a second here.
So, I'm talking about there are iconic characters from like the Marvel Universe: Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man.
I think I lost you.
Here. I got you there. So I mean, basically,
like a robot.
I like it. What I'm trying to get at is I can't.
He's annoyed at you. You made the joke. You made a stupid joke about Andrew, and he was like, "I'm done." And he's back.
There you go.
And he's back. No, I mean, listen.
But Cage is still sounding like he's like raw.
I got you. Can you hear me now? Weird. It's like Verizon. It's like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
What's that?
What I was gonna say, and as Bronamath logs back in, Ian is nerding out. And it goes to say, like, what something you said was like, do you want to watch Soccer Game with Ian? And he's like, no. But he loves this Captain America. He loves Marvel, right? Like, you see him off the screen. I was actually going to send him the StreamYard invite to be like, should he be our next guest?
No, he has this game that he plays on a Switch, this Lego Marvel game that he jumps around all over the place and like blows things up and plays with different characters on different levels. And when you select the character, it gives you stats, and right on the bottom it says your first appearance. So he's learning what's Black Panther's first appearance, buddy? Can you tell me that?
I think it's Fantastic Four.
It's a Fantastic Four book. Look it up.
6.
He thinks Black Panther first appearance was in a Fantastic Four book, which is, I mean, it's a little odd.
I think it was Fantastic Four 52. I think is
52. Fantastic Four what? 52?
52.
Yeah, 52. So I mean, it's crazy. But here's the thing, right? So that's an iconic book, right? That's a cool book, right? Like Fantastic Four, they're already huge. Plus, number 52's got Black Panther in it, right? So I don't know what it looks like. Andrew, do you know what that book looks like? And I guess what I'm asking you is, like, the comic nerds, no offense, know what that book looks like, probably, right? Mm-hmm. People, I guess, know what, like, the Incredible Hulk #1 looks like, right? But I don't get the same, like, vibe that I would get. Like, people know what a Luka Prism PSA 10 looks like.
But that's because you're talking from a sports card collector standpoint. If you go talk to a bunch of comic guys or anyone that's immensely into the hobby, they're going to look at you like, you don't know what that looks like? You kidding me? The same way that you're looking at that. You don't know what a Luka Doncic rookie looks like?
So where do we find the comic people? What hole, what cave? Like where because this is a cardboard thing, right?
They're at Comic-Con, which is
besides that.
Well, real quick. Guys, I'm looking for sponsors. Let me get a word in. Comic-Con, if you want to sponsor this, let us know. San Diego Comic-Con, Friday, July 23rd to the 25th in San Diego. Dwight Schrute will be there.
So I'm going to tell you something now, Cage, is going to blow your mind.
I'm coming dressed as this guy. I'm coming dressed as Thanos. Go for it.
You're coming at that hobby as like, what hole are they in? You on our Instagram. If you've ever been in a live Instagram of comic shops selling comic books, it would blow your mind. There's nothing like it in sports cards. I go into these Instagram lives with the comic book shops, and they're literally have a giant
What are you
wall.
popping?
What are they? What are they selling? Comic books?
Yes. So they have this giant wall behind them, and they're putting all these comics on the wall, and they have each comics assigned a number, and they're going, okay, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1, grade is a 2.0. We're asking 13.5 for it. Puts it up on the board, and everyone's in the chat. Hundreds of people claim. I'll offer you this. I'll offer you that. It's literally a live auction on Instagram Live, and it happens almost every night. I've been on some where I've seen, oh my God, someone just spent 250 grand today. Another person, like, these are sales that are happening every night and then on their pages, and it's more organic than I think the sports cards is, because you have people that are wanting to buy these comic books for their collections. I'm looking at it from an investing standpoint, but you got a lot of people that are buying this to stash away and display at their houses and their collections.
Ian tells me Thanos' first appearance is in Iron Man 55. So I guess I should know that if I'm going to come to Comic-Con dressed as Thanos. What you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's just an odd thing because, I'm knee deep in the cards now. I haven't gotten into the comics. So what's funny is, right, there's a cost of entry, right? Like, you really have to do a lot of research. So you're really providing a lot of good stuff here. I hope the folks who might be interested in getting into some comics, it's important stuff. Like, I knew that there were page things, but if you'd have told me cream versus off-white, like, I wouldn't know which one was higher or lower. So even that, like, you got to do that research. It's just, It's difficult to.
What about the off-white Jordans you're wearing right now?
No.
Let me ask you guys. LeBron and Curry, what characters, what comic book characters would they be? What comic book character would LeBron be, Bronamath? You can't say Spider-Woman Gwen. That's not fair to LeBron.
Spider-Gwen, not Spider-Woman Gwen.
I mean, I think you would have to look at him. I guess you have to look at him as Thanos, and then you'd have to look at Jordan as Galactus.
Wow.
Mic drop.
That's a 1A. Hey, that's a 1A.
You asked who Steph
1B.
Curry. He says Steph Curry. I say Steph Curry is Doctor Strange.
I can see that's a good comparison.
Who's Steph Curry? Marvel.
That's a good
Who was he in the
comparison.
Marvel game?
What'd you make of that game last night?
Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel.
The first half, my God, was brutal watching that as the Lakers side. My gosh, I was watching that game. I was like, "Are you kidding me, Dan?" Like, I get it. They haven't had many games together, and they looked really rusty. It looked like a game one game of all those guys compiled together. It was terrible.
The best tweet I saw about last night's game at halftime-ish, Jack Settleman, who we've had on also, he's a big, like, Top Shot guy, crypto guy who's in the Z Horses and stuff like that. He tweeted, "Well, this looks like a matchup between the 7th and 8th best teams in the West." And I mean, like, you can't say it better than that, right? I mean, it really did. It looked like two very rusty teams.
The Lakers shot terribly, and the Warriors came out fighting. They really did. Like, they were flying around the ball. They were really quick. They were great on transition. They did a lot of things good. You just got outplayed. Should have at the end of the game against a good team.
I'll tell you what was the most impressive thing for me, and I'm not a basketball guy, basketball brain like Andrew is, so I'd love to hear what his take on it is, and then we can move on to whatever other topic you like. It's, I've watched a lot of basketball this year. I definitely watched Golden State games. I'm a Wiseman fan, and I think they were a better team with him. I think he's going to be really good. He's going to add another wrinkle. That team with Wiseman and Clay back next year, forget about it. It's going to be very, very interesting to watch what that team can do. But I have to give the Lakers a lot of credit for their game plan on Steph. And also credit for Steph because, look, Steph scored a ton of points anyway with circus shots. But if you watch that game, the first quarter, like, in order to get his shot, he was throwing up 3-pointers from like 38 feet out. And when you do that, every time he touched the ball, he was double teamed. And you got to give the Warriors credit. They pass the ball really well. They find the open look, and when they get it, whether it's Toscano or Bazemore or whoever it was, they're hitting their shots, right? They're hitting their threes for the most part until the end when it really counted. But the Lakers again had the refs on their team. So, but I was amazed by how well. It's amazing to say how well they bottled up Curry and he still scored about 30-something points, right? But they really had a good game plan for him. He looked pestered. Like, he looked like he was bottled up, at least for the most part of the game. I don't know why more teams don't do that. Maybe
More
the
teams
Lakers
don't have Caruso. Dude, Caruso is a stud, man. Caruso's tough. People don't give Caruso enough credit, in my opinion, for just bringing heart into that team. And there was this one play, I think they were up by 10 points, the Warriors were. Draymond Green gets the steal. He passes it to Curry, and Curry kind of fumbles the ball, and the Lakers get it back. That was a big swing. That could have been 13 points, and it came back. The Lakers made it 2, and then they make a 3 on the next possession. And Caruso was the one that came from behind and stripped Curry. So it was an awesome game, man. What an amazing shot by LeBron. You got to give him hats off for that. I'm curious. Do you like the Lakers matchup versus the Suns, or do you think they had a better chance against the Jazz?
I don't think it matters. I think having the time off helps them out a lot. I think at the end of the day, you're going to end up seeing their athleticism and what they can do come out in a 7-game series. They'll make the adjustment. LeBron will come out in game 1. He'll do what LeBron does in game 1 and just feel out all the different schemes they're going to throw at him. Doesn't matter if they lose or not.
Is that your way of is that your way of saying LeBron will take game 1 off?
I think it was his way of saying LeBron wins another championship.
No, but listen, game 1 is always traditionally LeBron settles around and just kind of figures out his spots and what he's going to do. He plays chess in game 1. That is what he does.
Can I give some advice to the Lakers?
I would love to play. I would love LeBron. I would love to play LeBron in chess. I hope that day comes.
If I was the coach of the Lakers after watching last night's game, there's one move I would make that would make them infinitely better. Do you know what it is?
Drummond on the bench.
I would show Drummond the last seat on the bench and never let him get up. And I'm a Drummond fan. But I don't know if he was forcing it. I don't know if he's just like, wow, this is what the playoffs are like, and let me make my name now because I've been in the league for 10 years and I may never get to the playoffs ever again. But he was forcing it like you would not believe.
It's tough because on paper you look at that team and they should just be absolutely thrashing people down low.
And he was being brutish. They could have called him for a foul basically every play. It looked like it was whatever. It just
he doesn't give Anthony Davis any space to operate. It's all matchups. It really is all matchups. Hats off. I'm excited for the playoffs. You're absolutely right. The time off is going to be huge for the Lakers just to get healthy. I'm excited for the Suns series because, I believe the Suns are the best team out of the West in the regular season, right? The Jazz had the best record, but the Suns down the stretch played really well. This is going to be a really exciting first-round series. You don't get first-round series that are this competitive.
I expect to see AD at the 5 a lot this series.
Let's talk about something maybe not as optimistic, but I think it's relevant to talk about. So we talked a little bit about gamblers, gambling mindset. You mentioned you're not a gambler. Gambling is an addiction that I had to fight off, or maybe I saw it a little bit earlier and I was like, we have an addictive family, addictive personality. This is something that, it's like fire. It will burn you. And Cage, he believes that, everyone has a gambling gene in them in the hobby. But with crypto and what we've seen with crypto, it really blows my mind because when I was in college 10 years ago, for me to consider betting or gambling on sports was so taboo. And that's just 10 years ago. Don't even get me started when I was in high school and 18, 19 years old. And now it's become incredibly mainstream where you're seeing, Shiba coin go up thousands of percent. You're seeing, and I don't know if you see this, the Instagram influencers, the ones that would take photos of like Bang Energy, now they're the ones that are now screenshot. You took the words right out of my mouth. And to me, one, it's scary that they're going to lose money, but it's also scary when people don't understand how addictive things like this are. And you mentioned, I'm curious just your take. How do you see this current climate of everyone's literally sitting on their couch? In 1999, if you wanted to be a millionaire, got to work or you bought a lottery ticket. Now you lay on your couch with your pants unzipped. You just go on Robinhood. You go deposit money and you're just swiping up, right? And every
Cage coin
has a Robinhood.
Cage coin to the moon. When Lambo, when moon, Cage coin to the moon.
That's what
when Lambo.
I think all of these small little gimmicky coins in the end is not going to be good for crypto. I think it takes away from what crypto is trying to achieve by entering in the mainstream. And how can you take Dogecoin serious? How can you take, I don't know if you've seen Cummies serious. I don't know how you take a lot of these things. No, seriously, it's called Cummies. It's the Cum Rocket, and it's what people are using on my fans only pages. I know.
As opposed to credit card?
Yes.
What's on my fan
Gotcha.
only page?
Or whatever that's called. I don't know. I think I may have said it wrong. But anyways, but how do you take that serious? You know, that worries me.
Are you talking about that
the-
thing Andrew was telling me he signed up for? It's only fans. He said he has a page. I'm supposed to pay
That's
him
what
for
it
something.
is. That's
I
what
don't
it's
know
called.
But I'm a creator. I'm not a consumer. I'm a creator. So,
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
The man in the arena, whatever. I don't have to be wearing a lot of
You know
clothes
what?
to be in that arena.
But if you look at it from the standpoint of building their own wealth, they've made this coin for their site, and now everyone that is accepting it is making money off of their money in a pool together. So I don't know. It's hard for me to look at that and consider it a good move for crypto as a whole. That's my point.
I was just
Takes away a little bit of
I've been on
credibility, right?
Yes.
I've been on the Covers forum. Sorry, I've removed you and added you back in because there was a bit of a delay. Like I was on the Covers forum, which was like all better gamblers, and there's a common word like degenerate, right? Like I was always worried. I didn't want to be one of the degenerates. And now we're just in such an interesting economic climate where like everyone is just investing in these altcoins and they're going to the moon. And call me crazy. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little bit concerned.
Most people are going to buy it at the moon.
Yes, exactly.
That's the problem.
When we had our conversation and you and I were talking about maybe like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and I thought it was in a healthy space. And now it's become this like mockery, and they've had these altcoins come in, and it definitely worries me. Whether that's a planned mockery to devalue it as a whole, I don't know. You can go down that rabbit hole. It worries me. It does.
But you also see so much price manipulation in it too, right? Like you saw like overnight, coins now go up and down 20, 30%. Even I know Bitcoin's the bellwether one. And I just feel like it's an industry with no oversight. There's no oversight regulatory body like the SEC. And it's just ripe for price manipulation. Guys and just small groups and Instagram groups or text message groups that control a lot of the wealth. Well, they could drop the price, and they know when the dip is. They know when the bottom and when the top is coming, and they could just make their vig on the price manipulation.
But
I feel like it's right for that.
But that's a scary bottle you can open up, because the same can be said about the hobby and all different levels: cards, comics, everything. There's no authority there. I mean, so if we're going to say that it needs to be regulated on the crypto level, does it mean it has to be regulated on the hobby level? Does it mean it has to be regulated on the card level when these, exclusive cars come over and now they double in price at the lot? Now does it have to be at a certain price? So where does that end? And that's the bottle. I don't know. I mean, that's what makes America America, right? Is being able to do these things. But crypto will die if it has regulation.
Even if it has like an SEC oversight body, you think?
I think so. I
because
think
it has regulation.
Yes. Okay.
I think
SEC regulations. It will devalue the whole purpose of it. Right. I think they came out that are trying to push right now. If it's a $10,000 transfer, that you have to report it, I think is what I just saw.
That's right.
Yep.
And just Luka Nation, like a little public service announcement. Most of the topics I prepare, all of them actually, I want to bring value. So as you just said, Bernamath, there are a lot of similarities behind how the crypto market is behaving and how sports cards behave. So I love that we're having this conversation, because I think it's valuable in watching crypto. I think crypto, what it has in its favor is it's significantly more liquid, which is for getting in and out of it is much more appealing to price manipulators, because they can do it in seconds versus days, weeks when you have to ship cards and things like that. Let's wrap with, Kay, do you have any topics that we want to wrap with? You want to cut it here? You want to talk a little bit PSA Pop Report? And you want to call it audible?
No, I mean, listen, this was good. I like the comics. Like we went through the comics because that's that's Bronamath, it's Bailiwick, and I think it does provide some real value for people. I love the conversation of Marvel cards versus the comics themselves. I think that's really, really a cool topic that we covered on there, and even this last part about like pricing of crypto and how it compares to cards and collectibles. I mean, one of the scary things. So let me do what a lot of people don't love when I talk about it, right? But to me, bridging the gap between like the collectibles and the crypto was Top Shot. That's people don't want to hear about it. It's like dead and blah blah blah, the whole deal. So it's funny because everything you guys just talked about applied there too. Like people were counting their millions on Top Shot. We got my count is worth this, but it was based on like a floor, not a real price. And I mean, I'll tell anybody who's listening to this episode. I mean, I have several Top Shot moments, in the golden auction that ends this weekend. So I'm curious what happens with that because that's a real marketplace now. It's not, Dapper dollars and all that other fun stuff on their closed universe. It's not a floor price; it's an actual auction. It's real pricing, and we've seen some stuff go to auction, but it's a scary thing, right? Because you saw the same thing with Doge coins. You saw the same thing with Bitcoin, right? Elon Musk tweets, and all of a sudden, 20% of the value of the coin is gone, right? Like that's scary stuff, right? The fact that the market can be tanked by such a small thing, right? It's just we're in an interesting time or an interesting like price discovery phase, right? Go ahead, Bernard.
That goes back to the SEC, oversight, right? Elon Musk can tweet whatever he wants to do about crypto, and it can go up, it can go down, and he has the control of that. That's the point that's worrisome, right, Andrew? Like you don't want someone to be able to do what he did with that amount of power that he did.
I don't know him, but he seems like a very power hungry guy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know the guy, but he's really enjoying.
Well, your point about opening Pandora's box is definitely there, right? I mean, if someone with enough publicity and someone with enough followers went on and held up a bunch of Mookie Betts cards like this.
I don't own those cards anymore. Just let me live it down.
And all of a sudden the card would go from $125 to $700. Somebody would say, "Hey, look at Devin Booker. Look at these cards."
I like Mookie Betts' change.
It happens.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm not.
What you're saying.
Hey, listen. This is going to be Devin Booker's moment where he goes up or he's going to have a flat line.
I think he's going to have a flat line. I don't like what I've seen with him the last
quarter
of the season. I'm interested.
On this
is it
scale,
Suns Lakers?
Yeah.
Suns
on
Lakers?
this scale against LeBron in the primetime playoffs, if he doesn't show out, there's going to be a lot of people are going to be dragging a bag around for the next year or two.
So
Last
the series,
question.
Before you do that, the person who benefits the most from that series, it's a tie. It's either State Farm or AARP. Because with Chris Paul and LeBron on there, you got some age there. You got some retirees. You got some.
Chris Paul's a dog, man. He's one of those guys that I wouldn't want to bet against because he always finds a way. Like he might not put up all the points, but he just makes so much disruption happen on both sides of the ball. It's crazy.
All right, last point. What do you got?
I'm going to throw out a stat. You guys give me a 60-second take on it, and we'll wrap here, okay?
Yes.
There are more Luka Prism rookie cards graded, 28,000, than entire 2012 Prism cards graded. So I'm going to repeat that. There's more Luka Prism 2018 cards graded, 28,000, than the 2012 Prism set in its entirety, which has Kawhi, Anthony Davis,
Talking about basketball,
Lillard.
right? Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yes.
Yep.
22,000. Don't name it. What do you make of that data? How do you utilize it to make smart decisions?
There are Amazing Fantasy 15, 2,500 total graded. That's the first appearance of Spider-Man. Total in
Cage?
the world graded at TGC.
Say, as crazy as those numbers seem to you now, they were going to get worse because there's a lot less 2012 Prism being graded now than there are 2018 Prism. A lot more produced, a lot more stuff. And I've talked about this, so maybe I'll do it again because you said 60 seconds. This might take more than 60 seconds. I think that the 2018, 2019 Prism sets for basketball are the top of a bell curve. I think what we're going to wind up seeing with the changes in PSA, the changes in the hobby, the changes in people like Bronamath who are not just ripping and grading and doing that thing. Now they've moved on to something else. I think what you're going to see is take 2012 and it's here, 2013 and it's here. You're going to have those low pops, and the pricing on those are going to be, what they are. But the population is going to be that 2012, 13, Giannis, 14, 15, Tatum a little higher. And that 18, 19, you're going to have your Treys and your Zions and your Ja and the whole deal. That year, the pop's going to be high. But I think starting with now LaMelo, Edwards, it's still going to be up here. It's not going to be as high. I think we're going to start to see that bell curve come on down a little bit. And we'll see what that does. We'll see what that does for pricing. It might actually prop the pricing up of singles if you're getting less of a pop on those things, if I'm correct. And PSA is not giving as many 10s. I know people think I'm wrong on that, but if people aren't grading, and without grading, people are, getting worse grades, I think we're going to see the PSA 10 thing kind of do one of these.
May I give one PSA real
sure,
quick?
please. Do it.
Public
Pop
service
reports,
announcement or
yes.
or a statement from PSA and Nat Turner? Which one?
No. Public service announcement. Pop
Gotcha.
counts matter on anything that you're investing in. I don't care if it's comics, cards, tickets, VHS. It doesn't matter. Pop reports matter more now than ever before. And please do your research before you start investing in the things.
So unlimited Dogecoin, that kind of matters, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I searched the internet, but no one gave me
And
a
you
good
know what?
answer.
That's
Like,
a
it's a
good
great
comparison.
meme.
That's a great comparison.
Okay. Ooh, Jesus. Luka Nation, please work with us. Our sound quality will be drastically better a few years from now. That's why we're bringing you guys these amazing sponsorships. We're just trying to improve. We're just trying to
we didn't even mention
keep our
that.
head above water.
We didn't even mention that. We didn't even mention our sponsorship. We didn't mention it. Guys, you probably heard
we
it in
have
the
the
pre-roll for the first time, and
Yeah.
you probably heard it in the pre-roll for the first time, and you'll hear it again now as we exit. We announced it today on Instagram. We have a new sponsor for the podcast. You can hear about it every day. You get episodes with them, some behind-the-scenes looks, you name it. But a big thank you and a shout-out to Hybrid Grading Approach, who is the new sponsor of Luka's Tigers and Bronze podcast. So a little news there for you guys. But that means, of course,
Can I give a
that
little
we'll
news
continue
too?
to get daily. Oh, are you pregnant again?
No. When Cage is
Ian
using
like
the
that.
microwave, when Cage is using the microwave, the internet chops out. So
What
that's why it
happens?
was a little bit choppy
What happens
there.
when I use the microwave? What happens when I use the microwave? The Wi-Fi cuts out. He says if you use the microwave, it's a very, very strong microwave.
The microwave was on just a few seconds ago. Talk about hybrid grading one more time for our Luka Nation.
So what I was saying was, you probably heard it in the pre-roll, and you'll hear it again in the post-roll. God bless you, buddy. It's we have a sponsor. Hybrid Grading is now sponsoring Luka's Tigers and Bronze. Newsworthy, I would say, and I love it because what it allows for us to do here, bless you again, pal, is we can continue to bring you daily content. We're able to expand out onto YouTube a little more. You put out more content on Instagram, maybe open up some Twitter, have some fun all over the place. But most importantly, it's to continue to give you guys this content daily, free. There's no charge. There's no nothing, right? There are other people out there who give picks, plays, content, you name it, and charge a fee, charge a VIP level, charge monthly, charge whatever it may be. Well, HGA is paying that fee for everyone out there who wants to listen to us. So that's what the sponsorship's enabling for all of us. So, we want to thank HGA and the team over there for the sponsorship. You want to add anything there,
Congrats,
pal?
guys. That's awesome.
Thank you, Bronamath. No? Did I
Namath's
cut
an
out?
OG. No, you were amazing.
That was good.
Bro Namath's been with us. Bro Namath's come on the show. Came on, I believe, in August 2020. Came on first week in January, and here we are about five and a half months later in 2021. You've been with us along the ride. You're super accessible. Like I said, anytime I've shot you a DM, when I first got into the hobby, you helped me so much. So I just wanted to thank you. Thank you. You're an amazing person in the hobby. You're an amazing friend. It means the world to me that you'd come on.
And reach out to this guy, guys. Reach out to us because if you listen to our August episode, I ended it by saying, I'm going to reach out to you because I believe in Dragon Ball Z, but you got to teach me his stuff. And you're going to put a box together for me and I'll buy it. Right? He's like, don't worry. I'm not looking to make money. I'll make a Dragon Ball Z box for you, the whole deal. And I never did because I'm an idiot. And whatever he would have put in that box is probably worth 10 times what I would have paid for it right now, right?
My God, that stuff go up.
Yeah. So
everyone that did listen to that episode and reached out to me that I hooked up, you're welcome. Dinner's on me for the next couple weeks. Congratulations.
Dinner's on them.
Yeah, no, I paid for it by the advice.
Okay. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Bronamath.
Thanks, guys.